Hi, folks. I'm Bob Hales, and welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Club. Hi, folks. Welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Club. Today's show is going to run a little bit longer than usual, but please hang around. It is really important that you see the show. Now, the Tinfoil Hat Club is a weekly political internet show that's regularly simulcast on Tuesdays on the Common Sense Conversation blog at commonsenseconversation.com and on the Cantankerous Old Coots blog at cantankerousoldcoots.com. Besides Tuesdays, it can be found other times during the week as the situation warrants, or just whenever I feel like doing an extra show or two. It can also be found on the YouTube channel, The Coffee Club. Now, I'm Bob Hales. I'm your host here on the Tinfoil Hat Club, and right about here is where I usually start telling you all about the show, what it's about, how to take action, all those little details before the day's actual story of a government way out of control, but not today. Today I'm just going to tell you a story about a mom, her little boy, a vindictive ex-husband, and an abusive government official who thinks she is above the law and above all control. Let's just see if I can piss you off just enough to get you to take a little bit of action. Now, see this mom and her little boy? The mom's name is Katrina Jeleva, and the little boy is her son Donnie. Now, there's several more people involved in this story, but these two are the only ones I have a picture of, and I suppose that's a good thing. If I had a picture of the Gestapo agent in this, I'd be tempted to Photoshop it before I put it up and make her look even more evil. Now, I want you to look at this picture really hard. I want you to burn the image into your mind. Pay special attention to the look on the little boy's face. Does he look unhappy? Does he look afraid of his mom even a little bit? Does he look like he wants to be away from her? I don't think so. He looks happy in his mom's lap to me. Now, these folks live in Salt Lake Valley in Utah. Now, there's some other players in this story. They include an ex-husband who has been proven in court to be a liar, a judge or three, a state-appointed child psychologist, and a state-appointed guardian ad litem. Remember this name, Amber Reuter. If I get the response from you folks that I hope to get, you're going to need that name shortly. Now, for a long time, it's been a well-known fact that various state agencies in this country that are charged with protecting children do a damn poor job of it. And they operate well outside the protections of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and our so-called justice system. These agencies, in different states, they're known as Child Protective Services or Department of Social Services, or here in Georgia where I live, known as Department of Family and Children Services, and other improperly named but really Gestapo-like agencies. They've got a long, well-known history of trampling on due process and parental rights that could almost, I said almost, be excused if they really protected kids, if they really gave a damn about the children they're charged with protecting. I got news for you people, they don't. They don't give a rat's ass about the kids they're supposed to protect. And they don't give a rat's ass about limitations on government either. They don't give a rat's ass about the Bill of Rights. They don't give a rat's ass about parental rights or due process. None of them. None of them. understand the concept of innocent until proven guilty. It is all about government power and control over citizens. Now sometimes, one of these power-hungry bureaucrats goes too far. They go far enough that even fellow members of their little Gestapo social workers club and even judges just won't play along because it's so blatantly wrong, so egregious, that they don't want to look bad by supporting them. Now, when somebody steps over the line like that, what happens? What happens when the rest of the State Department of Child and Family Services in Utah, in this example, state-appointed child psychologists and 3 judges say a child has been improperly removed and should be given back to its mother, that she's done nothing wrong, the mother gets her child back, right? Not in Utah. Not in this case in Utah. In Utah, one little piece of bottom-feeding pond scum named Amber Reuter, the state-appointed guardian ad litem, basically just ignores the officials at the Department of Family and Children's Services who tell her to give the child back. Reuter ignores the state-appointed judges and child psychologists. Child psychologist says, give the child back. The judge has an order that says, give the child back. And what does Miss Gestapo, Amber Reuter, say? Screw all of you. I'll do what I damn well please. That's right, folks. Even when the judge himself ordered the return of Donnie to his mother, Katerina, even if another judge and the entire DFACS, or it's not DFACS there, it's not DFCS, it's DCFS, says he should be returned, he still remains under the watchful eye of the state so long as one of its Gestapo agents deems it appropriate. Now here's how the whole thing went down, so you'll know I'm not just blowing smoke. Katerina Jelva was accused by her ex-husband of sexually abusing her son. This was during the course of a nasty divorce when he was trying to get out of child support and filing for bankruptcy to try to get out from under his obligations. Obligations, that's what they are. He didn't want to pay child support. Now, regardless of the accusation, regardless of why, Jelva was served with a protective order. He went to court and he asked for a protective order, and she was served with a protective order. Now, we aren't going to talk about how protective orders and the entire family court system is unconstitutional, even though it is. With family court judges not being judges, they're just a rubber stamp for accusations made against someone without charges and with absolutely no proof offered. All you got to do is make an allegation and you get your protective order. Now, we're not even going to talk about how a protective order forces a parent to go into court and convince a judge, no jury in family court, convince a judge that they're innocent, which kind of craps on the doctrine of innocent until proven guilty. We aren't going to talk about the burden of proof in family court being placed on the defendant, not the accuser. We could talk about all that stuff, but we aren't, because in Katerina Jelva's case it gets far worse. Now, here's the timeline. First, the allegations by the father result in the protective order, cause an investigation to be started by family court appointed case officers, one of which, by the way, is a child psychologist, a Dr. Stringham. Now, Dr. Stringham interviewed both Katerina and Donnie and determined there was no evidence of sexual abuse. None. Nada. Zilch. Check the links below this video. Read what the doctor said for yourself. She also reported to the court that it was possible that Donnie had been coached to answer questions in a way that might indicate some abuse. The doctor stated that Donnie, quote, did not display any signs of emotional, physical, or sexual abuse during my contact with him or while he was observed in my waiting room. Dr. Stringham made a recommendation to the court that the protective order be dropped and that Jeleva should resume maintaining physical custody of her son. Now, when it came time for a hearing on this protective order, see, first you go ask for it, the judge rubber stamps it and gives it to you. Then you have a hearing. When it came time for the protective order hearing, her ex-husband didn't even show up, which made the case be thrown out, and the protective order was dropped. Now, right about here enters Amber Reuter, that I mentioned earlier, the guardian ad litem. Now, as guardian ad litem, Reuter is the representative of a minor child, such as Donnie, in cases like this. The bottom line is that Reuter was appointed as legal guardian of Jeleva's son during the protective order investigation process. Okay. Now, note that jackass Reuter wasn't involved until one protective order had come, been investigated, and dismissed. She was not involved up to that point. So how did this power-mad idiot Amber Reuter get involved? Well, because that was only round one. 1 day after she thought it was all over. 1 day after the protective order was dismissed. 1 day after the judge had seen a child psychologist report saying there was no abuse. 1 day later, Ms. Jeleva's ex, the guy who couldn't even bother to show up for the hearing the day before, Ms. Jeleva's ex filed another damn protective order against her. Now, I don't know exactly why, but Katerina Jeleva believes that Reuter, the Gestapo agent that stepped in at this point, thinks that Reuter put her ex up to it and helped him with it. Now, with the new protective order that was signed by, no, it wasn't signed by a judge. It was rubber stamped by a family court judge with no evidence, despite the prior order of dismissal, despite the finding that Donnie had been coached and still had the psychologist find absolutely no evidence of abuse. Despite all this, the police show up during dinner and take Donnie directly from his mother's arms. This kid looks really unhappy and abused. Looks terrified of his mother, doesn't he? Well, the police show up the day after the order was dismissed the day before. The police show up and take him from his mom. So, here we go again. Another investigation. More case officers. More interviews of Katerina and Donnie by detectives. And guess what? Same result. Everybody involved. Everybody says there's no evidence of child abuse. None, nada, zilch again. It was so cut and dry that Carly Eccles, who is the Department of Family and Children's Services investigator in the Special Sex Abuse Unit, wrote a report that completely cleared Katerina, and she closed the case. See the links below this video. Oops. I made a mistake. When I said everybody involved said there is no evidence of child abuse, I forgot about that damn bottom-feeding pond scum Gestapo agent Amber Reuter, the calendar girl for the Utah State Gestapo. She didn't agree. Okay, so here's what we got. The guardian ad litem, Gestapo officer Reuter, an attorney with attorney training, also known as bottom-feeding pond scum, says Katerina did commit sexual abuse against the child. After investigators from DFACS, investigators from the police department, and a court-appointed psychologist said she didn't. You got a lawyer saying there was abuse, You got child psychologists, investigators, cops, all saying she didn't. Now, let me think about this for a second or two. Who do I believe here? Okay, second's up. I'll give you a little hint. It's not the bottom-feeding pond scum Amber Reuter. She's not the one that's telling the truth. She's the damn liar. She's the damn overbearing government agent who thinks she is God. Anyway, the date for the hearing on this protective order rolls around, and Ms. Jelva's gotten smart. Now, Ms. Jelva is a single mom working at a not real good paying job. She's got limited resources. She walks into court pro se, which means she's representing herself. Now, the first words, the phrase justice system has two words, and the first word is justice. And in this case, the outcome is so obvious, the results can only go one way, right? Wrong. Despite the detective's report being a part of court records, not just somebody saying it, part of court records from the previous hearing, it was thrown out as hearsay because the detective wasn't there to say, yep, that's my stuff. Same with the DFAC Special Sex Unit, Ms. Eccles' report. Everything on Ms. Jelva's side was thrown out. Now, all the evidence in the case wasn't thrown out. The judge accepted the testimony of Miss Gestapo 2012, Amber Reuter. A psychologist says it didn't happen. Police detectives whose job it is to investigate such claims say it didn't happen. A DFAC special sex abuse investigator says it didn't happen. But again, a piece of shit, bottom-feeding pond scum, untrained in anything beyond the shyster trade of lawyering, says it did. And the judge sides with Miss Gestapo. Of course. Judges were lawyers first. They were bottom-feeding pond scum, and still are in general. So Katerina did it all over again, with the detectives, the DFACS investigator, and the psychologist physically there to testify. The Gestapo was there again too and testified that the detectives were wrong. The psychologist was wrong. DFACS was wrong. That Katerina had sexually abused Donnie. Well, Katerina and her son got a split decision, which given the way things have gone up to this point, I guess could be considered good. Katerina says the second judge at the second hearing upheld that she cannot directly contact her son. But he at least ruled. Now that's important here, folks. He ruled. He did not suggest. He did not recommend. He ruled. A judge's order that Amber Reuter, Miss Gestapo 2012, must recommend when, where, how long, and how often Jelva can resume meeting her son and a therapist. Now, at this point, I suppose something is better than nothing. According to Katerina, the judge stated, quote, "We must put this family back together." You reckon? What this judge should have said is, Miss Gestapo, what the hell did you tear this family apart for in the first place? What the hell were you thinking? Were you even thinking? Are you even capable of thinking? That's what the judge should have said. After having been cleared twice, the ruling should have been that Donnie be returned to his mother immediately. Period. End of discussion. The judge should have, and a good judge who actually believed in our system would have, sanctioned Gestapo Agent of the Year Amber Reuter for contempt of intentionally abusing the system and to harm a child, not helping. Now, even though Reuter was ordered by the judge to make recommendations for visitation scheduling, she has not met these requirements. After the court has ordered the guardian ad litem, also known as Gestapo pond scum, to make the recommendations, it is the pond scum's responsibility to organize and arrange the ordered meetings. The judge flatly ordered that the Gestapo pond scum take whatever steps are necessary to facilitate Jelva's appointed time with her son. Read it in the linked documents below. Now, Miss Gestapo sees the judge's order much differently. All she has done is state her opinion that it is the parent's responsibility to arrange all aspects. Now, Katerina Jelva is in an impossible catch-22 type situation. She's repeatedly tried to do Miss Gestapo's job by setting up the meetings, trying to get in contact with the ordered therapist. Since the Gestapo won't do as the court ordered, they don't return phone calls. And this is even verified by an email to Katerina from Miss Gestapo that said not returning phone calls was a trend at the requested mental health agency. In the same email, Gestapo Agent Reuter also family states, "I cannot and will not do this for you." Miss Gestapo, the judge ordered you to do it, you stupid cow. Agent Reuter also says the court-ordered therapy will only happen if the child's individual therapist feels it will not traumatize him to see his mother. Huh? Traumatize him to see his mother? You mean this child that looks just absolutely terrified of his mom? If his therapist says it's okay, then she'll do what the court ordered her to do? Since when does the Gestapo get to decide what court orders to follow and what orders to ignore anyway? Now, this has been a longer video than usual, and it's got a little bit to go, but not much. We're getting there. Why am I making such a big deal about this case? I don't know Katerina Jelva. I've talked to her once on the phone, and we've exchanged a few emails about the case, fleshing out some details and me getting some documents. So what's the big deal about a defects case 1,800 miles away? Well, for one thing, you rarely get to see the insides of a screwed-up defects case because since it involves a minor, all the records are sealed. You can get a nice generalized mad as hell and not going to take it anymore at defects, but you don't know what you can do or how to do it because you don't know who screwed up because you don't know what they said. In this case, we do know what happened. I'm not going to take it anymore, to quote the movie. On this case, I'm going to try to help this lady. And I hope I can do it with y'all's help as well. This case shows exactly what happens when a group of citizens, a state, allows the state unlimited power. It shows what happens when we allow services, like social services, to become authorities with power. Unlegislated power, by the way, and let the government get involved in family and individual matters. This case shows that we no longer have a justice system. Now, we've got a legal system, but not a justice system. The only justice you or I or Katerina Jelva get is what we can afford to buy. As Katerina states, I can't win in this rigged situation. There's no logic here. How would it be too traumatic for my son to come home to the only home he's ever known, and to pets that keep crying by his empty room? Now, folks, I want you to think back to the start of this video. Does this little boy look deathly afraid of his mother, as the Gestapo agent claims is the case? Does he? Does he look scared of his mom? I don't think he does. He doesn't to me. Now I'm asking y'all to do 3 things here. After looking at that picture of Donnie and his mom, after looking at it for a long time, decide for yourself if the boy looks afraid of his mom. And if you agree with me that this is a bullshit case of an overbearing government official doing what most government officials do, abusing their power, make some calls and send some emails. There's contact information below this video on commonsenseconversation.com and on cantankerousOldCoots.com. You folks that see this on YouTube, come to one of those blogs, and there's contact information below the video. Last thing, once you've looked at the video, once you burn that picture, once you have burned that picture into your brain, look at it. Once you've done all that, I want you to help bring pressure on the appropriate folks by passing this story along. And passing along the way people can help to everybody you know. Your friends, your co-workers, the people you go to church with, folks on an email list that you've got, your Facebook friends, your Twitter followers, everybody. They can see this video on YouTube if you want to pass that link along. They can see the video and get the contact information on one of those 2 blogs like I've mentioned. It doesn't matter how you help. Just help. If you've never done anything like this before, if you've never made calls to your representatives, if you've never called a judge's office to bitch, if you've never called a judge's office to ask for justice, do it now. Do it in this case, please. And like raising hell, do like I have already done and going to do again a few times. That Gestapo agent Amber Reuter is going to hear from me too. She needs to hear from a crap load of people. Please do it. Now this is far larger than the case of one cute kid and his mother. It's a matter of reining in abuse of power by a Gestapo police state-style government. This time, authorities abusing this child and using their protection authority against a family in Utah. Next time, it might be an up-close and personal abuse of power against you. So that's about it for today, folks. Remember that widget in the sidebar at commonsenseconversation.com that I've told you about. Use it to contact your Congress critters whenever you need to complain about something. Confront them with email, snail mail, phone calls. If they show their face in your district, confront them personally, and don't be threatening but intense works. After all, we the people are their bosses, and you and I are parts of we the people. And remember the other thing I always tell y'all, every time you have a contact with any government official, elected, appointed, or anything else, if they draw a government paycheck, you need to end the contact with the words. Don't imply it, say it. We don't work for you. You work for us. So, until we meet here again next week, you folks have a good day and a good week. And remember, y'all come back now. You hear?